Declaration of Independence. Think I could tell you that first sentence, but then I'm lost. I can't begin to count the theories I've had pounded in my head that I forgot. I don't remember all that Spanish or the Gettysburg Address. There is one speech from high school I'll never forget. Come on in, boys, sit on down and tell me about yourself. So you like my daughter, do you now? Yeah, we think she's something else. She's her daddy's girl, her mama's world. She deserves respect, that's what she'll get. Ain't it, son? Y'all run along and have some fun. I'll see you when you get back, bet I'll be up all night, still cleaning this gun. Well, now that I'm a father, I'm scared to death one day my daughter is gonna find that teenage boy I used to be. It seems to have just one thing on his mind. She's growing up so fast, it won't be long before. Yeah, I'll have to put the fear of God into some kid out the door. Yeah, come on in, boys, sit on down and tell me about yourself. So you like my daughter, do you now? Yeah, we think she's something else. She's her daddy's girl, her mama's world. She deserves respect, that's what she'll get. Now ain't it, son? Y'all go out and have some fun. I'll see you when you get back, probably be up all night, still cleaning this gun. Now it's all for show, ain't nobody gonna get hurt. It's just a daddy thing, and hey, believe me, man, it works. Yeah, come on in, boys, sit on down and tell me about yourself. So you like my daughter, do you now? Yeah, we think she's something else. She's her daddy's girl, her mama's world. She deserves respect, that's what she'll get. Ain't it, son? They all run along and have a little fun. I'll see you when you get back, probably be up all night, still cleaning this gun. Oh, son, now y'all buckle up and have her back by 10. Let's say about 9:30. Drive safe.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Probot Workshop. I'm your host, the Patriotic Robot. I hope all of you are doing well today, and hope you've had a good week so far. I want to talk about this article here I found, and it's got to do with domestic violence and physical abuse towards women in relationships that live in Alaska. And any of you who have followed my channel any amount of time, you all know that we all know one individual in particular that reigns in Alaska that has in the past allegedly and proven to have been dangerous towards women in a domestic way. So that's what kind of caught my eye about this when I was going through these articles, and thought I'd bring it and share it with all of you. So without further ado, let's get into it. A deadly place. Alaska is the most dangerous state for women, and now they're fighting back. So we'll start off with, there's an editor's note at the beginning. It says, this story includes claims from women recounting domestic abuse and sexual assault. If you are experiencing sexual violence or know someone who is, you can contact the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 800-656-HOPE. That's 800-656-4673. Or the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-7233. And this is from Anchorage, Alaska. Ronalda Ingeson says she knew she had to leave home the day her husband threatened her unborn grandchild. She had been out shopping with her pregnant daughter. When they returned, she says her husband exploded in anger, and he says some nasty things to her. She says he had found her work phone, furious to learn she had a line of communication he wasn't monitoring. He accused her of using it to cheat on him, she says. She was used to seeing rage consume her husband. For years, she says, he had physically abused her, once beating her to the point of unconsciousness. But his next threat stunned her. And he said, something's going to happen to her baby. She recalls him saying, your granddaughter isn't safe. How did it get to this point? She wondered. Didn't she know better? This is a picture over here. Ronalda Ingeson. Ingeson, now 46, says every woman in her life, her grandmother, her mom, her aunt, experienced violence, sexual assault, or both. It was an open secret in their home, though never directly discussed. Her grandmother got pushed, her mother got slapped, every woman got screamed at. As a teenager, Ingeson grew resentful and mouthy. I'd never let a man treat me this way, she'd tell her mother. Why do you allow somebody to do this to you? Why aren't you strong enough to leave? And here's a little chart here. Alaska sexual violence statistics. Adult women who have experienced intimate partner violence, sexual violence, or both in their lifetime is about 59%. Wow, that's a lot. The Alaska rape rate is 2.5 times the national average, higher than the national average. Child sexual assault in Alaska is almost 6 times the national average. Almost 30% of Alaskans were not able to access victim services or encourage others to do so because there were no services available in their area at the time. And then we carry back on with Ingeson's. But abuse, Ingeson learned, is gradual. It starts slowly, and before you know it, you're choked off from your family and friends, alone in a relationship that terrifies you. 5 years after escaping what she says was a 20-year abusive marriage, Ingeson has become an accidental activist, an advocate born out of the worst circumstances. She shared her story online and in person at the United Nations to try to help others find freedom and healing. Ingeson's story, part of which she detailed in a restraining order she filed in 2014, isn't unique. Women all over Alaska are in danger. The state routinely has some of the nation's highest rates of domestic violence, sexual assault, and murder. Coupled with severe alcohol and drug abuse and high child abuse rates, the state has become a terrifying environment for women of all ages across ethnic and socioeconomical spectrums. If Alaska was a third world country with the rates of domestic violence and sexual assault that we have, they'd declare a humanitarian crisis and the United Nations would move in, says Elizabeth Williams, another Anchorage-based activist. But because that's not happening, Williams, Anguson, and a handful of other women have decided they have to make a change themselves. After decades of empty promises from politicians, the hashtag #MeToo wave has finally reached the 49th state. Now activists have a to-do list. They want tougher sentencing laws, expanded legal definitions of sexual assault, and better information for victims during the prosecution and plea process. They want women to come forward, like Anguson did, and share their stories. They want believing women to be the default. Women here like being known as Alaskan tough. When you pass a woman on the street wearing a short skirt and high heels, there's a decent chance she knows how to hunt, kill, and skin an animal. She might be packing a weapon, and she could very well be living in fear of her life. Almost 60% of women in Alaska have experienced intimate partner violence, sexual assault, or both, according to Standing Together Against Rape. Everyone knows this is happening, activists say, and everyone needs to help fix it. I find this concept of sexual assault awareness really insulting, Williams says. 1 in 2 Alaskan women have experienced either domestic violence or sexual assault as the ones being violated. We're well aware of the problem, thank you. I'm sick of awareness. We need action and accountability. No jail time for masturbating on a woman. Alone in her apartment, Williams fumed. It was September 2018, and Williams, then 24, sat in bed reading an article on her phone. No jail time for man who pleaded guilty in strangling assault, the headline read. With every detail, she grew angrier. In August 2018, Justin Snyder, then 34, was arrested after police say he picked up a woman at a gas station, eventually pulling over to the side of the road and choking her to the point of unconsciousness, after telling her he was going to kill her and then masturbating on her. According to police reports, when the woman, identified only as a 25-year-old Alaskan native, regained consciousness, Snyder offered her a tissue and told her he hadn't actually planned to kill her. He just needed her to believe that so he could be sexually fulfilled. What a disgusting individual. Ugh. I'm sorry, it's just hard for me to read things like that without picturing someone in my family, a woman from my family going through that, and just, I can't even imagine. I don't think I could control my rage if I got my hands on someone who did something like that to a family member of mine. I don't think I could. Calls to Snyder's cell phone and his attorney were not returned. Initially charged with 4 felony counts, including kidnapping and assault, Schneider in September accepted a plea deal in which he pleaded guilty to a single felony assault charge in exchange for a sentence of 2 years with 1 suspended. Because Schneider, who had no prior criminal history, received credit for time served while he was wearing an ankle monitor and living with his parents, he did no jail time. Wow. But what infuriated Williams, what made it impossible to sleep that night and eventually spurred her to action, was one sentence from Anchorage Assistant District Attorney Andrew Granick, who told the court that this is Schneider's one pass. I was just like, there's got to be a catch here, Williams recalls. This is what happens in Alaska. We hear case after case of awful violence, and perpetrators are given literally what the prosecutor called a free pass. I guess this is the lady here who was part of that assault. Yeah, because it says after reading that a man was served no jail time after he strangled. Yeah, that's her. For Williams, who identifies as a sexual assault survivor herself, advocacy work is personal. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and fashionably dressed, she says she's used to not being taken seriously because of how she looks. But as a social worker who has spent time in some of the most remote areas of the state, she's seen firsthand the devastating effects of sexual assault and domestic violence. After the Snyder case made news, the DA's office suffered considerable backlash for the plea deal, but stood behind its prosecutor, pointing to the law that said unwanted contact with semen wasn't considered a sex crime. I don't see how could that be? I don't know. That's disgusting. Williams decided Alaskan residents needed to stop thinking of sexual assault and domestic violence as women's issues and instead consider how it hurts men and women, boys and girls. Which I would agree myself, but that's not the case in this incident. This was a man violating a woman. Last fall, with the help of her brother, Isaac Williams. Last fall. Last fall, with the help of her brother, Isaac, Williams formed the grassroots advocacy group No More Free Passes, aimed at holding perpetrators accountable. First, they took aim at the judge who had rubber-stamped the Schneider plea deal and who was up for a retention vote in November 2018. Elizabeth and Isaac Williams went to work, hosting rallies and educational forums, pleading with voters to take action, demanding that politicians on both sides of the aisles be held accountable for what they viewed as passive leadership. Elizabeth Williams got her share of hate mail, including notes from Alaska-based lawyers who, she says, wrote that they hoped she would get raped in retaliation for what she was doing. What? In November, Superior Court Judge Michael Corey was voted out, a victory for No More Free Passes. It was the first time Alaskan voters had ever voted out a judge despite a positive recommendation from the Alaska Judicial Council. Afterward, Corey compared the recall to being crucified, a stance he compared the recall to being crucified, a stance he reiterated during a June interview with USA Today. Asked if he would do anything different if he could replay the events of the sentencing, Corey was empathetic. No, it was the right answer. So we're not going to go into the entire article. I'll leave the link below in the description if you want to read it. We covered the basics of it. I mean, it goes on. It gives a couple of more stories and examples similar to the ones that we read. But yeah, it seems like, and this is just my opinion, now that they're aware in Alaska that there is a problem, maybe they should start taking a second, third, fourth look at folks moving there that have an extensive background of domestic violence or, any kind of crimes against or abuse towards their children or any of their family members. Because if this knowledge is known like they say it is, I'm sure people who do these kinds of things, abusive husbands and wives too, I'm sure they know what state they can move to try and get away with this kind of behavior. So, just a rant from the robot. I think it may be a good thing for local law enforcement and even state law enforcement and even the FBI to take a look at what's going on in Alaska, the final frontier. Apparently it's kind of like the Wild West up there. A lot of underdeveloped places, kind of off the grid, and not a lot of law enforcement help for folks who need it up there. So hopefully through these brave women standing up and creating their groups and bringing attention to all this, hopefully they're able to bring some change to the way things are operating up there in Alaska. And it's easy to, or for some folks it's easy to kind of lose track of, well that's their problem or that's someone else's problem. But each one of these women, that's someone's daughter, or somebody's mother, or somebody's grandmother, or somebody's sister. And if you kind of think of it in that way, like, think of it as it was your daughter or your sister or your mother or your grandma, wouldn't you want them to get all the help they could if they had some bully of a man beating up on them? I know I would. Hey, but what do I know? I'm just a robot. So I'd like to thank all of you for stopping in here and spending some time with your favorite robot. And until next video, take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and God bless each and every one of you. This is the Patriotic Robot signing off.